Nasiphi Same is in Saldanha Bay as we are just hours away from the Western Cape High Court's judgment in the Joshlin Smith kidnapping and human trafficking trial. That's going to be very significant. We'll, of course, have those live visuals then for you. Also, we'll take you to Durban, where demonstrators will gather in Newzroom Park to demand action from government to tighten immigration controls. Our very own Nobuhle Modise will give us the latest on that one. Major stories that we are following for you. Let's start here, though. In just under 2 hours, the Western Cape High Court will hand down judgment in that kidnapping and human trafficking case against Kelly Smith and 2 of her co-accused. This follows a month of marathon testimony and cross-examination. The trio is accused of orchestrating the mysterious disappearance of Smith's daughter, Joshlin, last year. The little girl's whereabouts do remain unknown. Nasiphi Same has been covering this story since the 6-year-old disappeared and joins us live now from Saldanha. A lot more protests still happening outside the venue here, Nasiphi.
Well, Arabile, the clock is ticking, as you put it, just under 2 hours before Judge Erasmus delivers the judgment for accused Jacqueline Apollos, Stefano van Rijn and Kelly Smith, who face kidnapping and human trafficking charges. What I will tell you is that the atmosphere outside the court precinct is palpable. And I'll just ask my colleague to show you the long queue of people waiting to make their way inside the Western Cape High Court to hear the verdict for themselves as to what the fate will be when it comes to the 3 accused. We've heard, as you put it, a marathon of testimony, explosive testimony from people like Laurentia Lombard, who was the key state witness of the state for this particular trial, and her giving, or rather relaying to the court, the plan that the 3 accused had, the roles that they played, including putting the mother as a central figure when it came to the plan of selling Joshlin for 20,000 rand to a Sangoma because of her distinct eyes and beautiful skin. However, now I'm joined by one of the people that have actually been standing in this queue since this morning, Caroline Peters, a GBV activist. Caroline, thank you so much for your time. But today we are expecting judgment to be handed. How are you feeling?
You know, I don't want to call it even conflicted, but I'm sad. It's a sad day because, yes, it's the end of the legal process, but Joshlin remains missing. We remain with a system that is broken, a system that has failed Joshlin, a system that if we look at today, it's about it's about systems. It's the construct of our systems. That's why. And Joshlin is one of many cases. You know, it's the vulnerable child that is not protected by our system. If we go back and we step back, there was a family that ultimately wanted to foster Joshlin. The system failed her. There was no systems in place to ensure. It was a drug-fueled day, like we said earlier, that led to the bartering. And like you say, 20,000 rand. Joshlin was sold for 20,000 rand. In a drug-fueled day. So we speak about gendered violence, we speak about drug addiction, we speak about the socio-economic stances, we speak about poverty around this and how children are vulnerable in these relations. And so, like you said, she had light skin, she had blue eyes, and she could be sold to a Sangoma. And so that is what we heard in testimony. But I want to say, my heart is sad. Where's Joshlin? We come to the end of the legal stand, but where's Joshlin in all this today?
You have been standing in this queue since early morning. I understand that you're from Cape Town.
Yes.
That is more than 200 or close to 200 kilometers away. But what made you or pushed you to be here this morning instead of listening to the judgment on the television?
In fact, I wanted to come and lend support. I wanted to come and speak to those people in Saldanha. And just speaking to the women, I've been queuing here since 6 o'clock this morning. And then speaking to the women in Saldanha, encouraging them. You know, if you listen to the songs that were sung earlier, she's from the soil here. Sy kom van ons, sy kom hier vandaan. Dit is haar kom vandaan. So this is where she comes from. This is where the earth where she was. And I wanted to come closer to this to see to speak to the women, to be an encouragement, and to show support, just the solidarity and the unity and the outpour is here today, and I wanted to be with us in the area, and so that's why we traveled for almost 2 hours to get here. Yes.
The state closed its case. So did the defense last week, many anticipating that the three accused are going to be taking the stand to give their version of the truth as they pleaded not guilty to rebut the evidence of the state. However, they closed without taking the stand. There's been a lot of criticism regarding that. I mean, as somebody that has been following the case, what are your thoughts?
I almost felt, at one stage I felt that they were very confident that the case was going to be withdrawn. I mean, they brought matters of withdrawal, the applications for withdrawal. There was a trial within a trial. We saw all these elements in this matter. And for me, I want to say, I felt, I felt almost like they were cowards. That's my opinion. I felt like they didn't even take the stand in their defense. Did they not have a good enough defense? And I almost want to, on another legal way, I want to say, is it leaving the door open for further, so that they can apply for appeal their sentence? That's the word. That's the legal word. Are they leaving the door open so that they're able to appeal their sentence? Yeah.
Caroline, yesterday we spent better part of the day speaking to the residents of Saldanha, from Deersville and Middelpost, where Joshlin was last seen. Emotions are still very raw. The community is still broken. Do you think that there's a way of mending that community?
I want to say there's so much trauma here around here, just speaking to the residents. Also, I'm standing in the queue since 6 o'clock this morning. I attend court in Cape Town all the time. I've never been to court this early this morning. We were here since 6 o'clock. And just speaking, there's so much trauma. But as you know, there's so much brokenness in most of our communities. And Saldanha is just another extension of, I work and live on the Cape Flats, and I see it there all the time, of how the violence and the trauma. And if we do not do something about it, we're going to see more cases like Joshlin. In fact, we see these cases all the time. Yeah,
we'll have to leave it there. That is Caroline Peters, for us, a GBV activist. We'll just show you the line again. Just on the note that Caroline parted on is the fact, she puts it, that they're seeing more and more cases like that of Joshlin. Speaking to the founder of the Teddy Bear Foundation, Dr. Shaida Omar, yesterday, she indicated that there's been an increase when it comes to the trafficking of children. And she says perhaps it is because that people are now reporting it, however, has cautioned, or rather called and urged on authorities, particularly police, to continue with this investigation and widen the scope of the investigation. As we heard from Caroline, we have seen twists and turns when it comes to this particular trial that has been held at the White City Multipurpose Centre in Saldanha in a bid by the Western Cape High Court to bring justice, or access to justice, closer to this very community, a very tight-knit community on the West Coast that looked for Joshlin tirelessly just hours after she disappeared. And today, this community will now hear the fate of the three people that stand accused of having a hand in her disappearance.
Nasiphi, just wanted to ask you, if I may then as well, we're just seeing a whole host of police and law enforcement. How big a police presence are we talking about here, considering as well the large numbers of people that have come in support of this case?
Well, we have seen quite a significant number of police officers that have been deployed for this particular day, with Judge Erasmus on Tuesday, when he ruled that the first two rows inside the court, or rather the gallery, will be reserved for the family, and including the family of the victim and accused. I'm assuming that there was an anticipation that there was going to be a large crowd that will be attending court today. So it is to ensure that all runs smoothly, not not only inside court but also outside, as the people that are waiting in the queues now will form part of the gallery to listen in as to what the judgment will be in less than 2 hours that will be handed down by Judge Erasmus.